Amar Jnana Gopal, Amar Krishna Gopal, Amar Jnana Gopal, Amar Krishna Gopal, Amar Jnana Gopal, Amar Jnana Gopal, Krishna Gopal, Amar Jnana Gopal, Amar Jnana Gopal, Amar Gopal, Amar Krishna Gopal, Amar Jnana Gopal, Amar Krishna Gopal, Amar Jnana Gopal. Krishna Gopal, 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 Brojer Rakhal, Pran Gopal, Amar Krishna Gopal, Amar Pran Gopal, Amar Brojer Rakhal, Amar Krishna Gopal.
Hearing the voice of Anandamayi Ma chanting.
Amar Pran Gopal, Amar Brojer Rakhal, Amar Pran Gopal, Amar Krishna Gopal, Amar Pran Gopal, Amar Brojer Rakhal, Amar Krishna Gopal, Amar Krishna Gopal, Amar Pran Gopal, Amar Brojer Rakhal, Amar Krishna Gopal, Gopal Govinda, 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 Gopal Govinda.
It's so nice to see everyone's face. Oh, and I see Peter Mount Shasta. Good to see you, Peter. We're going to introduce everybody, but I'm very happy to see you.
Good to see you, Swami.
We are very honored.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So welcome everyone to the Matri Satsang of Sri Anandamayi Ma. 1 second. Excuse me, I've got to do a settings thing here. I'll have to do it later. Okay.
Mangalananda, we can't hear you.
Is it not louder? Hello, hello. Can you hear me now?
I can hear.
I'm using a different computer and you see a different place than we usually are. I'm in the office because our Wi-Fi is bad. Okay, but welcome to the Satsang of Anandamayi Ma. I have to give this disclaimer first every month. We are recording this and we do put it on our YouTube channel, which is Anandamayi Ma Satsang West, so people can reference it later. And to my surprise, we sometimes get like 2,000 views. I thought maybe 2 or 3 people would see it. So these readings we do and these discussions we have are helpful to people who believe in and love Ma. So we hope people will not be shy in participating because we're being recorded, okay? But that's the disclaimer that we are being recorded. And I always, I want to just say, please be patient while we introduce. I want everybody to introduce themselves because one of my purposes in starting this satsang was not just to give support to people who have been touched by Ma's grace, but also to have community together. And even though this is online, I feel it's really happening. And people who I know who didn't know each other before are meeting in person, and we're people who come every month. It's just wonderful to see everyone's face. I recognize so many faces. So I think this is an important part for us all, just to see each other and hear each other real quickly. And I just want to say kind of our sankalp, our setting of our will for this satsang, as always, is Anandamayi Ma is an infinite source of blessing, an infinite source of spiritual awakening. So all of us have been touched by her grace. She said that you can't even think of her unless she first thinks of us. So all of us have been touched by her grace. All of us are here because she's called us and knows us. And so this satsang is to give support, to give community, and to study her teachings more and to see how we respond. Because her grace is on us, but our response is within that small scope of what we call free will, which is actually an illusion. But while we're under that illusion that we have free will, we want to see how we can respond to Ma's grace and grow closer to her. And my name is, if you don't know, you're here for the first time, my name is Mangalananda, and I'm an appointed Acharya, that's a lineage teacher of Anandamayi Ashram, Ma Sharanam Ashram in India. And I received Diksha from Ma in 1973, and have been living in her ashrams basically ever since under some of her great disciples' tutelage, Swami Bhaskarananda, Swami Kedarnath, and different people like that. And I was asked to do this whenever I can. That's why we're doing this. So we all turn to Ma for our own awakening. Ma was the embodiment of what we really are in our true nature. She was Satchit Ananda. She was pure existence. She was pure bliss and consciousness, unveiled from the ignorance that we have covering us. So when we just think of her, see her, study her teachings, our own inner divinity wakes up, which is the whole idea. She wants us to wake up to realize ourselves in her. So this is why we meet for this thing. Okay, so I want to introduce my other co-host, Pragya Hallstrom, the author of the wonderful book, which is a classic in Ma's literature now, Mother of Bliss, and another book in the making, which we're going to read from. And so Pragya, why don't you introduce yourself, and then I'll introduce Rainy.
Jai Ma, everyone. It's so good to see you again. I'm Pragya Hallstrom, and I live in Amherst, Massachusetts. And we've had a satsang, sort of in the Boston area for a number of years. And with COVID, we were blessed to become a worldwide satsang with all of you. So it's been really thrilling to expand Ma's net to include all these beings who've been touched by her from around the world. So it's good to see you. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma. And Renu, Renu is our technical co-host and ever-ready Sevak. Renu, you can introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there with people.
Jai Ma, I'm Renu from near San Francisco, California. I'm excited to be here and see everyone and share satsang, my favorite day of the month. So I'll just go down the participant list. And
let me quickly ask people. The kind of our setup, we have a liturgical way of doing this. We'll read the things about Ma, read her, study her words, then have some kirtan, do a little meditation. And then after that, we'll have an open period for sharing. So then I like to hear people's stories. I like to hear people's impressions, any thoughts from the readings of the day, anything people want to talk about related to Ma. But during this first introduction, since we have so many people, just briefly say what your name is and where you're from, okay? So we can just see your face. And if you would, turn on your video, and you can mute yourself if you're on a computer just by pushing the space bar down, or on the bottom left of the screen, there's a mute and unmute button. So you'll have to unmute yourself and then mute yourself afterwards. Okay, carry on, Rainu.
Okay, so I'm just going to go down the participant list. And as you said, just mute and then, or unmute and then mute again. If you forget, I'm going to do it for you. So, Katya?
Jai Ma, Jai Ma. This is Katya from Portugal, Madeira Island. So very happy to be with you all. Thank you. My special day of the month. Yes.
Always
Thank
happy
you.
to see you, Kathy. Always.
Yes, me too. Thank you. Thank you.
Jai Ma, welcome, Katya.
Jai Ma.
Next, we have Greg from New Hampshire.
Hi, I'm Greg, currently in Arizona. Jema, thank you for being here and doing this.
Oh, nice. You're just visiting Greg, or you're moving there?
I don't know. I went south for the winter and we'll see what happens after.
Yeah, good idea. New Hampshire is too cold. Good to see you, Greg.
Very cold. Thank
Jema.
you. You too. Jema.
Jema, welcome. Greg, formerly from New Hampshire. Next, we have iPhone 13 Pro Max.
iPhone 13 Pro Max.
The
Okay.
iPhone has been unmuted.
Are you there? Okay, well, you're welcome. And Jema, let's move on.
Okay, next we have David Herring.
Yes, we are David Herring and Linda Cefelli, and we live in Williamsburg, Virginia.
Oh, and we're always happy to see you. See, this is what I mean by community. People who come every month and we're just, get to know each other through this wonderful satsang. Jema, welcome to both of you, David and Linda.
Thank you.
Jema, welcome David and Linda. Next we have Gabriel. Doesn't look like that person, Gabriel, actually has a way. Oh, there. Okay.
Gabriel, are you there? Okay.
Okay. Next we have Hari Priya.
Yes, Jema. Here's Haripriya from South Germany, from Mannheim. It's near Frankfurt, and it's ice cold here. And we have already lightened the Christmas tree 1 week before. To have it a little longer.
Good to,
Jema.
good to see you. We always, when
Jema.
we were on tour from India, we'd always stay with Hari Priya. Also, Swami Bhaskarananji stayed with her a lot, very close to Swami Bhaskarananji and Swami Nirguna.
Yes. 2 nights he was sleeping here, 3 days he stayed here, and we prepare the food on a special oven for him outside, no? Not in the main kitchen. Yeah, I remember every step. Jema, it is a big blessing. Jema,
Good to see Hari Priya.
yes, same to you,
Jema,
to all of you.
Jema, welcome Hari Priya Didi. Next we have Helen Moon.
Jema, happy to be here again. It's snowing in Salt Spring, and I enjoy this every month so much. Thank you so much.
Good to see you, Helen, and good to see Salt Spring Island, one of my favorite places.
Jema, welcome Helen. Next we have, well actually Gabriel said he was having trouble with his mic, but he wanted to just say hi to everyone. Next we have Ian Allen.
Oh, hi, Gabriel. Jema, welcome.
Yeah, hello. I'm there.
Where are you from?
Hello. I'm from Seattle and from Paris. I live in Seattle, but I'm a Frenchman in Seattle. And I saw last time that you had a bunch of French people connected.
Yes.
On the web. Yeah. So one more.
There's a few people from France here today too. Well, welcome,
Yeah,
Gabriel.
okay. Thank you.
Welcome Gabriel. Jema.
Thank
Next
you very
we
much,
have
Jema.
Jema. We have Ian. We'll try Ian again.
Hi, Jema. I'm Ian, calling in from upstate New York, Chatham, New York.
Very good to see you, Ian. This is your second time, right?
Yeah.
Good to see you. Very good.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Welcome, Jema. Next we have Julia, Canada.
Yes, I'm in snowy Canada. I'm leaving in a few weeks to go to Florida, to Resina Cove in Florida. And I'm very happy to hear you speak about grace today, because we hear the word a lot right now, even from Angel Gabriel. Thank you.
Good to see you, Shaman. And say hi to Resina Cove for me. I love that place. I remember being there with you.
Welcome, Julia. Next we have Paul or Gulshan.
Unmute yourself, Gulshan. Unmute.
I could have sworn I did, but I didn't. Anyway, Jaywa, everyone. Glad to be here from a little bit west of District of Columbia, and it's getting nippy and pretty cold out there. Nice to see everybody.
Good to see you, Ghost. We missed you the last few months. We haven't seen you for a while. Good to see you. And I'm going back to Mount Shadowdom in February if you want to come with us. You were there with us last time.
Oh, that would be nice. So we'll see if I can arrange that, but we'll see. Thank you.
Jayma.
It'll be nice.
Hey, Ma, welcome. Next, we have Peter.
Jai Ma, I live at the base of Mount Shasta in Northern California, and I really feel Ma's presence. A few minutes ago, I felt her come in and say, I'm happy you're participating, so I'm happy to be with you.
We're very, very honored and happy to have you with us. This is a person named as Peter, is known as Peter of Mount Shasta, who is a guru and a teacher in his own right. And he met Anandamayi Ma and loves her very much. Peter, we're very honored to have you with us. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Swami. Thank you for having me.
Jai Ma.
Hey, Ma, welcome, Peter. And next, we have Randy Jordan.
Hey Ma, everybody. I'm Randy Jordan from Western Massachusetts, Great Barrington, and snow covered. And I'm so glad to be here with all of you and so thankful for this time.
Good to see you, Randy. We'll be in touch before. I've been sorry, I've been so busy. I haven't had a chance to call, but we'll be in touch.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's cold. It's even cold here in California. It's like 45 or something, which for us is like freezing. We're all dying here. 45 degrees. Okay, who's next one?
Frost every morning.
I know we thin blood in California because we're used to it being warm here.
Okay, welcome, Randy. Next, we have Raphael Miller.
Hi, Jayma. I'm Raphael, or you can call me Rafi if that's easier. I'm calling in from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it's my first time here, so super excited to participate.
Very, very welcome, Raphael. This is for people like you. Ma's reached out and touched your heart, and you need a place to go to learn more about that. Good, good, good. Welcome.
Welcome, Raphael. Next, we have Yamuna from France.
Yes. Hello. Hello, everybody. Jayma.
Jayma, Yamuna. Okay, Greg, you got to translate something. Greg?
I live in the south of the France.
Bonsoir.
I live in bonsoir.
You live in the south of France?
Yes, near Marseille. Marseille.
When I was touring India, we would be all over France. I've been in France many times, meeting Ma devotees. That's wonderful. Welcome.
Yes.
Yamuna.
Thank you to be here. I'm so
Staying
happy.
up so late at night to be with us.
Yes.
Jayma.
Jayma.
Jayma, bienvenue. Next, we have Arpita and Robert.
Hi, Arpita and Robert. Jayma, we live in Delray Beach, Florida, and it's a bit chilly here too.
Wow.
It's in the 70s. And we're really, really more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see you both.
Thank you.
Both friend Arpita also received Diksha from Ma, and I knew her when we were traveling with Ma together.
Jayma, welcome. Next, we have Reed Joel.
I'm muting myself. Hi, good morning, everybody. Guess it's not morning anymore. In Berkeley.
Good to see you, Reed. We had dinner together. Is Blake coming?
I assume so, but I don't see
I'll
him.
give him the link. We'll see. Good to see you.
Jayma, welcome, Reed. Next, we have Sanjay Jaiswal.
Oh, it's Blake, who's the iPhone 13 Pro we didn't see. Hey, Blake.
Hi, how are you? Jayma.
Driving?
Yeah, actually, I'm picking up my uncle and bringing him home, and so, but I had to join in before.
Be careful. Listen, but don't.
Oh yeah,
look.
yes, that's right.
Blake and Reed and I had dinner the other night in Center Phil. It was nice, nice time.
Beautiful time.
Jai Ma, be careful.
Jai Ma, thank you.
Welcome. Blake, next we have Sanjay.
Jai Ma, this is Sanjay from Wichita, Kansas, and with me, I'm Shiva. And we always wait for this Sunday. In fact, Tasha was saying, last Sunday that today is the Om Masaranam. I said, no, it is next week.
Oh, good to see you all. Jai Ma, Meri Bhai.
Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, welcome. Next we have Saraswati.
Jai Ma, everyone. So good to be here as always. I like hearing everyone talk about the cold weather. I'm here in Buffalo, New York, and we got a foot of snow last night. So enjoy. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Saraswati. Good to see you.
Jai Ma, Saraswati. Next we have Yatesh Chaudhary.
Jai Ma, this is Yitesh. I live in San Francisco. I'm going back to India like on Tuesday. So I hope I am gonna visit one of the ashrams in India. Yeah, if Ma allows. Thanks for having me here.
Good, good. And keep in touch like we talked about it. And will you still be there in February?
Yeah, I will be.
Good, good. We'll meet at Masharanam.
Cool.
Just keep in touch through WhatsApp, and I'll even we can pick you up or something. We'll work it out. Okay. Jai Ma Bhai.
Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, welcome. That looks like it for me. If there's anybody I missed, please let me know.
Everybody.
Looks like everybody.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. Let's go ahead and start. As we, as you know, who have been here before, we always start reading Ma's words to assure us that you're long before we were. And she hears every movement of our heart and every prayer of our breath. And so this is Ma's own words. She says, I am ever with each one of you, wherever you happen to be. But your vision is tied down to worldly matters, and you have little time to direct your eyes to this body and your thoughts and actions. What can I do? But know it for certain that whatever you do in thought and deed, whether you are near or in distant lands, never escapes my loving attention. Just as at a flash of torchlight, your faces gleam forth in their bold outlines, all your facial expressions appear in my mind when you meditate on me or talk about me or sit down to pray to me. So Ma has said that in her infinite consciousness, only infinite consciousness can say that. She says that, and she also says this. This is from the intro to my book about Ma. This is Ma's words. For one who knows me, I am one with him. For one who wants to know me, I am very near to him. And for one who does not know me, I am a beggar before him. So Ma wants us to know her because we came for all our sakes. She said many times, this body has no karma. It wasn't brought down by the karma to fulfill, as of all of you. She says she's the Vyakta Rupa. That's the manifested form of the aspiration of all mankind. So she belongs to every single person. So I want to read a couple of things. I always like start reading something from Ma's actual life so we can see how she moved through this world of ours and how she related to the world. I find this very moving. It's written by the person who was with her at the time. It just she or he, I'm not even sure who, signs itself as Sidhu. Okay. This incident related below took place about 22 years ago in the month of March. We don't know when this account was written. The exact dates of which it occurred have been forgotten. Ma was at Benares. She had been entreated to visit a large school and in her usual kind way had consented to go. Ma and her then very small party arrived at the institution in the cool of the evening. Through a lovely garden lit with colored electric bulbs, she was taken to a beautifully decorated rostrum. We all sat down around her, and then some people began to sing kirtan. Abhay and I, if you've read Ra's early writings, Abhay was a young man who lived in the ashram who was just an incredible troublemaker. There's a beautiful history of Ma worked with him for years and really worked through his ego thing. Like he was a brahmachari, a celibate, a young man, and he was very proud of that. And he was so proud of it, Ma got him married. That broke that. And but then there was a point where he was going to commit suicide. So Ma said, he said his karma is such he thinks he will commit suicide. So Ma was very gentle with him all those times and brought him through it all. So anyway, he's a study in Ma's patience and training. Abhay and I were sitting right at Ma's feet. Abhay carried a small roll containing Ma's bedding, while I helped mother's slippers in my hand. Suddenly, when the kirtan was in full swing, Ma got up from her dais. I once put the slippers down and Ma thrust her feet in them. She walked swiftly out of the pandal, Abhay and myself following her. Ma sped away like the wind, and we actually had to run to keep pace with her. The garden was very large and the entrance quite a distance away, but we found ourselves at the gate in a few seconds. A gentleman was just alighting from his car. He had evidently come from Ma's darshan. He seemed astonished to see Ma walk away with only 2 companions. He folded his hands and asked her where she was going. Ma appeared to be in a great hurry. She at once requested him to take her to the railway station. He hesitatingly opened the door of the car and Ma got in without delay, asking us to get in quickly, jaldi, jaldi. The door was shut behind us and the gentleman drove to the Benares railway station. As soon as we arrived there, he asked Ma where she wished to go. To Sarnath was his reply. That's right near Varanasi. It's where the Buddha gave his first sermon. The gentleman explained that there was no train to Sarnath until the next morning, but Ma insisted. So he went to purchase 3 first-class tickets to Sarnath while we sat waiting in the waiting room. He had hardly returned with the tickets when a train steamed into the station. Ma stepped into an empty first-class compartment and we followed while the gentleman kept on murmuring that this was a mail train which would not stop at Sarnath. However, Ma paid no attention to his remonstrances and soon the train left the station. Within a few minutes, it stopped. As happens at times when there's no all clear signal. Ma opened the door of the compartment and got down. So in other words, it went just a little ways, like the Sarnath, and stopped off schedule. Ma opened the door of the compartment and got down. To us, she said, come down quickly, come down quickly. Abhay jumped down with Ma's bedding roll in his hand, and I felt afraid to follow suit as it was pitch dark and I could not see anything. Moreover, being rather bulky, athletic feats such as jumping down from a train were beyond me. The train gave a whistle, and in desperation, I risked the leap. It was not a moment too soon, for the train puffed away immediately. We now found that we had alighted near Sarnath station and that we were standing between railway tracks. Ma asked us whether we knew the way to the then newly built Birla Dharmashala. Neither I nor Abhay had ever been there before. Ma then started walking and we followed her. We were plunged into complete darkness with not a single light showing anywhere. We had no idea where Ma was leading us. Eventually, after covering quite a distance, we came to a large gate. The doorkeeper told us that this was the entrance to Birla Dharmashala. Ma went in and we went after her. It was quiet and dark inside the Dharmashala also, but Ma advanced unhesitatingly in a certain direction. She seemed to know exactly where she wanted to go. She passed along a large veranda and pushing open the door, entered a room. A small lantern was burning there. The room was quite empty except for a couple of wooden couches placed against the walls. Ma walked straight over to one of these and with an indescribable tone of voice, compounded of laughter, tenderness, and all the compassion in the world, she exclaimed, here I am, here I am. We now detected the figure of a woman who sat up, sobbing loudly. Ma put her arms around her, repeating, here I am, here I have come, don't cry anymore. We ventured closely and recognized in the weeping woman Maharatan. I'll talk more about that. Maharatan was one of the early great disciples of Ma. And she gradually gained control over her desperate crying, and we all proceeded to the roof of the building and sat there for some time. Soon Ma's party arrived from Benares. The gentleman who had brought us to the station had reported to Didi where Ma had gone and then conveyed her and the others to Sarnath. Ma was in wonderful spirits, laughing, talking, and joking with Maharatan. We had a very late dinner and then all went to sleep on the roof near Ma. It transpired later that Maharatan had come from some far-off place to have Ma's darshan. On reaching Benares, she had been told that Ma was in Sarnath. Without inquiring further, she had hired a tonga and proceeded to Sarnath, only to find that Ma was not there, nor was she even expected there. In the meantime, the tonga had left and there was no train to take her to Benares. So she was stranded for the night all alone in a huge empty dharmashala. But to make matters worse, she was running a temperature and feeling quite ill. When she had been crying desperately for Ma, Karunamayi Ma, this overflowing mercy Ma, suddenly appeared in her room. This is only one of the innumerable examples of Ma's loving kindness and mercy. Isn't that moving? So Ma there heard her weeping so many, maybe 100 kilometers away, and felt her heart and came to soothe her. This is Ma, and this is why from 1932 to 1982, 50 years, Ma moved ceaselessly. She had no place to even lay her head. Eventually the ashrams sprung up from devotees in different areas where Ma visited, but Ma traveled constantly, only pulled by people's hearts who needed her here and there. She was drawn by people's hearts. And we saw when we were with her, if you gave her a heartfelt cry in your heart, she always heard it. She always heard it. I want to share with you another story, because talking about Sadhana, this also took place in Sadhana. My friend Ram Alexander told me a beautiful story, which I don't think you would mind me sharing with you because it's so touching. And it shows, the more you think about it, the more it shows Ma's not only grace, but how she is doing everything. And we think we're doing things. Ram said, Ram is an American. I've known him since I was in high school. And he lived in Ma's ashram, I think, for 14 years during Ma's lifetime. And now he lives in Italy. But I see him in India when I go. And he said one time he was there, and he lived in the Kankal ashram, but and Ma would visit frequently. She would come and stay, but she would be traveling a lot. He would travel with us sometimes, and many times Ma would tell him to stay there and do his sadhana. So he hadn't seen Ma for a couple of months. And those of us who were with Ma know it was like an addiction. You had to be with Ma. There was such longing of the heart just to see her and to be in her presence. So he was feeling very lonely, and he knew Ma was off somewhere, he didn't know where. And so he just got this idea, which he thought came from his own mind. I'll just go to Sarnath, because he had a lot of Buddhist leanings. I'll just go to Sarnath and maybe have darshan there, and just to distract my mind from sitting here longing for Ma. So he made the arrangements, and he went, got on a train, and went somewhere, and he was in between connecting trains, which those who've been in India know it could be miserable. It was the middle of the night, and he got off at some little train stop waiting for the next train. And he was sitting there, and it was on this platform all alone. It was raining heavily, and he was sitting on this little platform, and he said, okay, I'll sit and meditate. So he closed his eyes and he meditated. And he says suddenly he felt more lonely than he ever felt in his life. He thought, Ma's forgotten me. I'm all alone in the middle of nowhere. I'm an American in India. He just, all his self-pity just rose up, and he just felt so lonely. And so he was meditating, trying to meditate and put that aside, and said and suddenly he felt like a cloth rubbing against his face. And he opened his eyes, and Ma was standing there. And to alert him that she was there, she didn't say Haranam. She took her dhoti like this, and she was just like running across his face in a playful way like that. And he looked at her, Ma, what are you doing here? And Ma's train had just stopped, and she just got it just like this. She got off, and she got Ram. So he got on the train with Ma, and they went off together. So I thought that was so beautiful. And when you think, the more you think about it, you see, Ma's planning everything. That's one of these divine coincidences that we think, being with Ma. Ma put it in his heart when to come, how to come. She just directed the whole thing, and then so sweetly just put her cloth over his face to awaken him from meditation. Okay. Now let's talk about what Ma. I want to read one more thing. This is nice. This shows Ma's approach, and we talked about it last month, how the Vedantic approach is neti, where the sadhak practicing Vedanta sadhana will say no to everything. This is not the self, this is not the self, and negate everything in the world until only the self remains. But Ma's way is called iti, which means all this, everything is divine. And I thought this was an interesting conversation recorded by Professor Ganguly in 1965, where Ma kind of shows this. So she says, here's the question. And she's at the Ranchi ashram in northern India, where there's a beautiful Kali mandir there. Question, some live in the ashram and some outside. Are they all of the Great Mother's kith and kin, or are some closely related and others more distantly? Ma, Mother Kali is here in front of you. Does she belittle anyone? Why do all come to the Great Mother? Because all are alike to her. All are her kith and kin. But her children ought to be aware of this and be thankful for this. Question. Here's the man's question. This is kind of his outlook. I always feel that everything in this world is fruitless and senseless, like in the workshop of a ghost. How can one escape from the grip of that ghost? Here's Ma's complete turn of this. Who is the ghost? What is the work of man in the world? The ghost exists only because you think it does. Otherwise, every jiva is Shiva. Jiva is individual soul. Shiva is the divine. Every jiva is Shiva. Every woman is Gauri. When you are yearning to do sadhana, you cannot remain without it. Even within the workshop of that ghost, you will be very well able to enter the current of sadhana. Depending on your interest, you will give preference to some work or other. On the spiritual path, one has to fulfill one's duty. The Lord of mankind comes in the guise of every human being to accept service from you. See this whole viewpoint she's unfolding? Everything is divine. The Lord of mankind comes in the guise of every human being to accept service from you. The housewife should regard her husband as an embodiment of the Lord and serve him with this attitude of mind. The small daughters of the family ought to be cared for as the incarnations of the Virgin Mother, and the sons as so many little Gopals who are in need of your love and affection. Why do you call this the workshop of a ghost? Carry out all work as God's service, and there will be no such thing as a workshop of a ghost. The ashram of the householder is a field of service, and every service should be performed as the worship of God. Let the husband adore his wife as Lakshmi, the goddess who presides over the home. Then you will see how full of happiness and joy life becomes. To be able to keep up this attitude of serving God in all your actions, you must at fixed times of the day retire to your shrine room for meditation, prayer, japa, the reading of scriptures, and so forth, just as a clock has to be wound regularly. In this manner, you will gradually come to do all your work as a divine service. See, this illustrates just what we were talking about last month about how Ma always said, have the inner life, your meditative lives, and then as you go out in the world, don't stop your sadhana. See that as divine. See everything is coming from the Lord. This is Ma's iti iti. Everything is this. Everything is that. Question. I'm aware of the fact that I am unable to attend to my duty. Is this a sign of spiritual progress? Ma, do you feel that you are unable to attend to it, or have you not the power to overcome the obstacles that are in the way? The sense of want or insufficiency is salutary, for it awakens the remembrance of God and therefore helps one to advance. Question. If I commit anything wrong, this is according to the Shastras, due to some evil samskara. Now the question arises, from where did the first evil disposition come? Ma, all sadhanas practice in order to discover this. Start meditating and invoke God's holy name, and you will find that one day the reply to your question will come to you by itself. And then someone says, why should the wise, the saints, not let me have a share of what they have earned? We hear this a lot in India, where someone says, oh, Guruji, you have to do it all. Oh, this saint does it all for me. There's a part where you have to play. Ma always stressed that. So Ma answers, so she says, why should not the Mahatmas let me have a share of what they have earned? So Ma replies, so you wish to enjoy the fruit of another's labor? So long as you do not meditate and act upon what you have been told, how could the path open out for you? If you practice whatever suits sadhana that suits your temperament and is within your capacity, your inner power will develop and increase. God is the life of life, the self. There is only one life, one self. In order to realize, to know it, you must resort to the spiritual exercise that appeals to you from deep within you. What have you done to find him? How much work you do for worldly ends, how much trouble you take. But you sit down idly over the fact that you have forgotten your true nature, that you are the Atma, that you yourself are peace. Have you made a sustained effort to realize this? Start right now with some spiritual exercise for the purpose of this revelation. God has given you so much capacity to work. Dedicate at least a little more time to him. and all the work you do in the world lay as an offering at his feet. Regard yourself as his manager. Don't feel that you are the boss. As the Lord's manager, serve him in every human being. In your home, there are the goddess Lakshmi, Kumari Devi, and Bal Gopal. Do service to them. Do not neglect them, and you will be at peace. And whatever time you can spare, morning and evening, sit in solitude in your shrine room and contemplate God's divine form. Meditate on him, repeat his name, worship him. Start the day, do not waste any more precious time. Question: Ma, will I have the vision of God by virtue of the sadhana I am practicing? Ma, he does not reject or refuse anything. Whatever you offer to him, he will accept. In whatever way you approach him, he will respond. All sadhanas are different paths that prepare you for the realization of him. Question: a human being's life is conditioned by his prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma is the karma that has to be reaped in this life, that will open up in some way or another. Where does free will, purushkara, come in? So he's saying this prarabdha karma, and where does purushkara, free will, come in? Ma, you must use your free will to find the supreme, the practice, the kriya, by which you advance towards him. So use the word purushottama. That exactly is called purushkara. So she said the kriya by which you approach purushottama is purushkara. So in other words, the very action, the sadhana we do to approach God is free will. That's the correct use of free will, to take our free will and use it to consciously try to evolve towards God through sadhana. By God's grace, even your destiny may be modified. If a devotee has firm faith that his prarabdha karma can be changed by God's grace, then this can also become possible. There certainly are laws in God's creation, yet nothing is impossible for him. If you think that God's grace is also within destiny, this is so for you. If, on the other hand, you are convinced that God is more powerful than destiny, then he may do anything at all for you. He provides for the worldly as well as the spiritual needs of his devotees. Isn't that wonderful? So again, Ma was so practical. She stressed depending on God, remembering God, serving all as God, but then taking what free will we have and trying to consciously evolve towards God. Actually, people would ask her, oh, well, Ma, why can't you do everything for me? And she would laugh and say, why is it you're capable of earning money and enjoying yourself and raising your children, but then when it comes to a spiritual life, suddenly you're in the state of paralysis? Why is that? She would, because Ma, you see how these words, sometimes Ma speaks very strictly and very straightly, but it was always through her, I was just reading it, but through her voice, it always came out in this wonderful, beautiful, maternal, caring way that was also full of humor. But Ma said, why do you have this paralysis strike when it's suddenly time to do sadhana? So she would not take no for an answer. She said, you have to do sadhana. And it was one time someone gave that beautiful explanation of Sri Ramakrishna, that even though a room may be dark for 1,000 years, once someone brings a candle and the light comes. So they said, Ma, you have come and you are the light, so you have lit up the room that's dark for 1,000 years. So we don't need to do anything more. And Ma laughed and said, yes, the light has come, the room is light. But how do you get rid of the terrible stench that's been there for 1,000 years? You have to do sadhana to get rid of that. So that's some readings from Ma. And now let's ask Pragya if she'll explain a little bit about her book and tell us when it will be out, and read some from Ma's satsangs.
Mangalanandaji, how about singing Om Sharanam? I think we forgot again.
I know, I forgot last month too. Okay. That's why you guys are helping me, because I can't remember anything. Okay, we usually do this at the very beginning because we approach Ma through our intellect in the sense that we're learning her words and remembering what she said and how she acted. But really, we tune into her with our heart. So we usually start with this kirtan, Om Sharanam, and just use it as a gateway to open up our hearts and feel Ma's presence with us. Sharanam means a place of refuge. Our ashram in India is called Ma Sharanam Ashram. So we wrote this as kind of a theme song for our ashram. So Om Ma Sharanam. Oh, by the way, my wife Gloria, who's usually here and sings with me, sends her regret and her love to everyone. She had a COVID booster and it's kind of wiped her out. So she's really taking it easy for a couple of days, but she sends her love to everyone. Om Sharana. Om Sharana. Om 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 Sharana. Om Sharana.
Om Sharana.
Om Sharana. Om Sharana. Om Sharana. Om Sharana. Om Om Sharana. Om Sharana. Om Sharana. Om Sharana. Om Together one last time, full of love and yearning for love. Ash. Om Ash. Om. So, Pragya, if you would read something from your book for us.
Sure. Among the Nandaji, we could only hear about half of what you were singing. You were just going in and out the whole time.
Yeah, I'm using this different office computer this time. I think I'll go back to my laptop. I think it's that is
Yeah,
good.
it was really strange, like only hearing very, very small part of what you were singing.
That's too bad. Oh well.
Oh well.
Next time
Maybe that's why you forgot.
What?
Maybe that's why you forgot.
Forgot. Oh, because
sing
it was so bad. No, I think it's my old age.
Oh wow. So yes, I'm going to be reading from the new book that we're just putting out called The Gospel of Sri Anandamayi Ma. And for those of you who have ever read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, you know that in the days of Ramakrishna, there were nobody could record him personally. And so one of his disciples, who was named M, wrote notes on all of his talks. In the case of Ma, in around 1961, someone just produced a tape recorder, and one of the girls, the young women who took care of her, Shraddha, was asked to, not Shraddha, who am I thinking of? Vasudha was asked to push the button every time Ma was speaking. And so thus we have many, many tapes of Ma's conversations with disciples, either informal or formal. And we've been able to take them and translate them and get a sense of how these conversations went over time. So today we're reading from tape number 85, which is toward the end of Ma's life. It's from the Sanyam Saptaha, the retreat in Kurukshetra in October, November 1979. I think it's a very beautiful conversation. Questioner: Ma, it is said that Jyoti, light, is dwelling in us, and it is Ananta Jyoti Swarupa, the eternal light. But then why are we not able to see it? Shri Ma, whatever you are speaking, seeing, and hearing is due only to that Jyoti. You are under an avaran, a veil of ignorance, that is anitya, impermanent. It is the cover of ajnana, ignorance. It is something to be removed. It is destructible. When that cover is destroyed, you will have the darshan of the Atma Prakash, the light of the self. As long as you do not see that Nitya Jyoti, that eternal light, you will see only the non-eternal around you. All the polarities like darkness and light, sin and merit, good and bad, etc. Once you behold that light, you will have only oneness, only light, and nothing else. How well Swamiji has explained all these things, giving a number of examples. It is only sanyam, self-restraint, that can take you to that Jyoti, because that Jyoti itself is sanyam. Those who are not sanyami, people committed to self-restraint, whose life is not disciplined, are unable to catch it. You will not have any questions if you do not lead a disciplined life. Only those who are leading a disciplined life have such questions, because that Jyoti supplies the stairs in the form of those questions that will lead them to him. Why do you get such questions? Just to realize your own self. He comes in different forms at different times. Sri Krishna showed Arjuna the Vishvarupa, the universal form of God, in which he saw all the things and creatures coming out and going in. It is all his lila, his divine play. He is in innumerable forms. That is why he is called Ananta, infinite, but really he is one. But the avaran, the veil of ignorance, is that is blocking your inner sight. You are hearing the sacred words from these Mahatmas that will take you to that Mahan, great one. They will take you towards self-realization. For the last 3 days, these talks have been going on incessantly. Incessantly means that after taking food and rest, you come again and assemble here for hearing these Prabhu Kathas, these stories and words of the Lord. Even at the time of rest and meals, you go on remembering him. You are practicing not to forget him at any time. In every action of yours, he is present. He is with you continuously. This kriya, this practice, overcomes all of your previous samskaras, impressions from past lives. That is why Shaktipata, the descent of divine power, initiation, is done by gurus. Their Shaktipata blunts the effect of the previous bad samskaras and sharpens those samskaras that are helpful in your spiritual progress. That is why this body says again and again to follow the advice of your guru. It will give you Shakti, divine power. That power will help you in your kriya, your spiritual practice, and again that kriya will awaken the power in you. This way, the kriya and Shakti will go on strengthening and fortifying each other and will take you to the top, to the spiritual summit. Okay, what were you asking? Questioner, Bhagavan is Jyotirmaya, full of light. His Jyoti is prevailing all over. Shrima, yes, he is Pavitra Jyoti, the sacred and pure light. He is Sarvamaya, all-pervading. All is in him, and he is in all. There is no question of even being in. He is all, and all is he. And again, there is even no question of all. It is that Jyoti alone, nothing else. He is very bright. He is ever shining. He is burning in you. It is only described thus when describing him in Vyaktarupa, his manifested form. There is no question of darshan or adarshan, seeing him or not seeing him. Now you ask, why is he not seen? Why does he not present himself before us? You have been graced with this question by him only to go beyond this dilemma. The answer to this question lies within the place from which the question arises. The question is he, and the answer is also he alone. You are unable to feel him just because you are still covered by the veil of ignorance. Tear it off, and you will see him, that Jyoti. All these questions are only his Leela. Jai Ma.
Thank you, Pragya. When will the book be out, do you think?
You always ask me that, and I wish I knew. We keep hearing back from India, we're almost there, we're almost done. So I'm not sure. I hope in a couple of months, but I've been saying that for some time. What we seem to feel is that Ma is trying to, the three of us who are working on these final edits, we feel that the blessing is that she's keeping us doing it again and again. But hopefully all of us will be blessed soon with the manifested book.
Good. It will be a huge addition to Ma's literature. It's really true. The small book I wrote has now been translated into French and Spanish and Portuguese and Polish and English. And it was printed in France, but now Yogi Impressions, who's doing your book, wants to publish both the French and the Spanish and the Portuguese edition. So it's all going through them too. So kind of neat. So people are reading about Ma everywhere. And it's really good. Ma's message is going out more and more. Again, we don't ever proselytize Ma. Like this meeting is for people who have already been touched by Ma. We leave that work to her. She's the missionary. She touches who she will. And then we gather people up who have been touched already. But the fact that more and more people are reading about Ma and she's more in demand is really important. I think Pragya's book will have a beautiful reception. And like I recently just returned from the Bahamas, I'm invited every year to the Shivananda yoga retreat, and they asked me to do kirtan there and teach classes. And I teach classes on Ma's teachings, on the divine name, on the divine feminine, all these things. So, this is slowly spreading. But I want to say something about this reading. It's hugely important when Ma's saying you are behind this avaran, this veil, which separates us from our true nature. There's the so-called neo-Vedantic movement, which is going around. And I recently had contact with some people who were following this guy, I won't say his name, some American man who was just a charter boat captain who had supposedly had some kind of realization experience, which he may have. But then what he's teaching is, you are already realized. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do any sadhana. I met it also. I went to a satsang in India by a very famous person who was I won't say his name either, who is also saying the same thing. You can't do sadhana. You don't need to. You're already realized. Just realize that you're already realized. No true teacher will say this. It is an incomplete representation of Vedanta. It is an incomplete presentation of our spiritual state. Yes, we are already realized. But as Ma stressed, any true teacher will tell you there is a curtain which is separating us, and we have to do sadhana to break that curtain. And the curtain is simply made up of our discursive thought, our discursive mental energy, which then forms the ego. When we don't see ourselves, then immediately we get a false perception of ourselves, and we just spiral downhill from there. So this curtain is made up of our undisciplined mind. So that's why Ma said, the undisciplined people have no questions because they don't even haven't started yet. So she talked, two things are important. The stress I think should be stressed in this one reading is, one, Ma tells the truth. There is a curtain. And the second truth is the disciplined mind only can work through that curtain. The grace of God ultimately does it, but we have to do our part too, to break through that curtain. And she says, tear it away and you'll see everything. The reason we're seeing duality, sickness, sorrow, darkness, is because we're seeing through the lens of that curtain. And once that curtain is gone and we're united with the fullness of our being, our true self, then we see only the Atma everywhere. We see Ma everywhere. And so we can start now intellectually trying to accept that Ma is everywhere, Ma is everything right now, and intellectually hold that. And because that's the true thought, it will eventually deepen into experience. But it's the inward quiet meditation that Ma stressed, and then the outward trying to see God and remember God. And this is sadhana. And this is what will break through that avaran, that veil, which keeps us from being united with our true nature. But any teacher who says there's no veil, you're already realized, is an illusion. I can tell you that very, very confidently. So don't be fooled by Neo-Vedanta. Know that there is a veil and there is a way to go through it. Ma said many times, just as there was a veil of ignorance, though also there is a door of knowledge within it. So it was so beautiful. She said, the very fact you have this question, what can we do? That question comes from the other side of the veil. That's the inner Lord, God seated in our heart, longing to come out and reveal himself, herself to us. In the English translation, it always says, we talked about the divine, Ma always says, in the English translation, it comes across as he, but Ma was using the genderless pronoun va, or Bhagavan, or Tat, that. So she was never saying always he. It could be either he or she. So that's just a side note. Very good. So we'll have our sharing period shortly, but first we're going to have some meditation, and I want to lead up to that by looking at Ma's directions for meditation, because she certainly knows the way, being the way herself. So here's an excerpt from the diary of Amulya Datta Gupta, who's one of my favorite writers about his experience with Ma, because Ma spoke to him very directly. So he recorded this one night when the satsang was going on. A devotee asked Ma, please tell us how to still the mind. Because see, this avaranya we're talking about, this veil, the great Rishi Patanjali, who wrote the Yoga Sutras, talks about this. He says that the definition of yoga is yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the complete cessation of all the vritti, the movement of thought within the chitta, the mind stuff. And he says when that happens, the next verse says, then the practitioner rests in their swarup, their true nature. So this veil is made up of the restless mind. So all sadhana is done only to still and quiet the mind and get it one pointed and concentrated, and then it becomes still, and then the light of that inner light shines through it. So a devotee asks Ma, please tell us how to still the mind. Ma responds, quite often it is asked, how can the mind become still through japa? Japa is repetition of mantra. Everyone is anxious to have peace of mind, because without stilling the mind, ananda, bliss, is not possible. Here is one way to set the mind at rest. And see, Ma knows there's so many different meditation methods, and they all have their virtue. And she always would say, find the one that's dearest to you. But she did mostly talk about the divine names. Ma continues, I have already explained to you that the Guru Mantra and the Ishta, that's the sound formula and the beloved form of God, the form of God that appeals to you most. The Guru Mantra and the Ishta are identical. Start by repeating the mantra received from your Guru. Where exactly should you concentrate during meditation? It is good to concentrate in the heart, because this is the place where joy and sorrow arise. You will start by your meditation by imagining your Guru or Ishta enthroned in your heart. The roots of this body tree of ours lie in the head, while the branches are down below. It's spoken of in the Bhagavad Gita this way. The heart is the foundation of this tree, and any nourishment given here will reach the roots. For this reason, one should meditate in the heart. A devotee asks, where exactly is the heart? Ma, the heart is everywhere, in the hands and the feet and every part of the body. Yet when we speak about the heart, we normally understand this place, she points to her chest. This is where one should concentrate while meditating. This is why I advise that after placing your Guru on his seat in your heart, watch your breath moving in and out. It is this breathing that enables us to remain alive. Hence, enthrone your Guru in your heart and contemplate him as pervading the whole universe through prana. Prana is the life force which is moving everything and which makes us breathe, which makes us our circulation go, our digestion go. Prana is life force. Contemplate him as pervading the whole universe through prana. The Guru is all pervasive, so one should perform japa of the mantra received from the Guru and simultaneously watch one's breathing. And Ma also said, if you don't have a Guru, you just choose whatever mantra, whatever name appeals to you most, either because of the Ishta connected with it, or because of the sound of it, or whatever makes you feel an affinity with it. The benefit derived from watching the movement of one's breath while practicing japa is that the mind becomes calm. Because breathing implies movement, it is a little easier to tie the restless mind to it. Another advantage of this practice is that it can be performed everywhere at all times. Inhaling and exhaling continues without a break. So all you have to do is perform your japa in rhythm with your breathing. You don't need a picture in front of you, so you see, this method of sadhana will suit aspirants regardless of the path they pursue. So this is just one example of Ma many, many times talked about this, and she personally instructed me in this also, this method of meditation. And I want to read another excerpt from my book where I included some of Ma's teachings, and I thought this was one of the most precious here. When she talks about her take on meditation. Excuse me. Here's Ma's words on this, and then we'll try to practice it. Through breath energy, consciousness pervades matter. Everything that is alive breathes. When breath stops, one dies. Physical life depends on breath. Through prana, matter becomes alive. In other words, this body we're in once the prana leaves, it's just a dead thing which you dispose of. So prana is what is making everything alive. This is interesting. Desires and a wandering mind make the breath impure. Isn't that an interesting idea? The breath can become impure just through our desires and wandering mind. Desires and a wandering mind make the breath impure. Therefore, I advise the practice of concentration on breathing combined with taking any one of God's names. If the breath and the mind become one-pointed and steady, then the mind expands to infinity, and all phenomena are included in that one all-inclusive point. That's an incredible esoteric teaching right there, that the mind has a point where when it reaches perfect contemplation, its nature is to expand to infinity. So let's read that again. If the breath and the mind become one-pointed and steady, then the mind expands to infinity and all phenomena are included in that one all-inclusive point. If you think of God with the breath, it will purify the prana, the physical sheath, and the mind. If you breathe while thinking of God's name, you will feel the call of his grace. And then Ma continues, the self or God, because she said, they're identical. The self or God is unknowable to the ordinary intelligence, but he is not unknown to us as the life breath. So with that one statement, she's saying the life breath is literally a manifestation of God. It's the Divine Mother herself going through us. And this exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide is just the very outer husk of this breathing process. If you learn, I can tell you through my own experience, many years of doing this meditation, the more you concentrate on the breath, you find deeper and deeper and more subtle levels within it. And you find eventually the one that's making you breathe is just this one stream of light that's always going in. There's one stream that always goes out, one stream that always goes in. And when you breathe with the mantra becomes very subtle, very alive. It infuses the breath and vibrates within the breath, and eventually it turns into energy, then into consciousness, and just into divinity. And it's in being drawn with the breath, it's an amazing thing. So let me start this section again. This is Ma's words. The self or God is unknowable to the ordinary intelligence, but he is not unknown to us as the life breath. If one uses the rhythm of one's breathing as a support in meditation, this increases one's power. Therefore, one should daily sit in a meditative pose in a solitary place and turn the mind inward and repeat the mantra in rhythm with one's breathing without straining in a natural way. When through prolonged practice, the name becomes inextricably linked with the breath, the body quite still, one will come to realize that the individual is part of the one great life that pervades the universe, which is our goal. Our goal is to enter into the unity of life, that underlying seabed of consciousness where everything is one. And so Ma is saying this simple practice will bring that ultimate experience. I think I mentioned before, I lived with some yogis for several years where we were led by this one American yogi who knew all these different kriyas. And we practiced these complex kriyas where we were visualizing different chakra yantras with different colors and hot and cold breath going on the spine, all these, the heads and the shoulders and the knees. We did all these things. And we found that the ultimate effect was it gave you kind of a psychic tuning, but it didn't increase the depth of consciousness. And this simple meditation that Ma is talking about, just saying the japa, the name of God with the breath, is better than any of that, because consciousness is simple. Consciousness is undivided. So a simple practice will take you deeper. So let's try. I just realized I've mentioned how I'm using a different computer, our office computer, and therefore it's evidently not working as well. But also I don't have all my photos of Ma on this computer. So usually at this point, we show a slideshow of Ma's photos while I sing some more. But one, the singing is not coming through, it's coming through garbled. And two, I don't have the photos. So I think we're gonna have to go right to meditation. So and then thereafter we'll do 10 minutes of meditation, and then we'll have our open time to share and to talk and discuss, okay? So please forgive me for not having Ma's wonderful photo here, because that's how she gives darshan these days. We like to look at all these photos of mine, sing a kirtan together. We'll do that next month when I have my old computer back. Okay, so let's go right to meditation together. And let's just contemplate what Mom just said, all these wonderful words that we put the image of the Guru in our heart, or however we think of the Ishta, our form of God we love, or even if we think of God as unmanifested light, however we relate to that inner higher awareness, we place that in our heart, and then we just breathe in and out and say the name. So let's work through it together. I'll kind of lead us together. So first, of course, we close our eyes. And we make sure the spine is straight and erect. The shoulders are back some, the chest is raised and open. But now we make sure the body is very relaxed. So from the head to the toe, we can briefly scan the body and make sure every muscle, every tendon is relaxed and at ease. And we're sitting in a state of utter relaxation. And now we relax the mind too. We just let the thinking process let go of it, let it unwind like a spring. We just relax the mind. And then we make sure that our mind is resting in the present moment. We're just aware of here, now. We draw back from the past, the future. We let the mind rest in the spaciousness of now. And within that now, we feel our own presence, our own awareness of I am. I exist with no further definition, simply I am. And now in this neutral state, this is the neutral state of meditation, in the moment, in the I, we just observe the breath moving in front of us. And we don't try to change it or control it. We just notice its natural rhythm. We feel its touch the nostrils, we feel it going into the chest. We just sit and let the mind rest and sink down into the breath. And now we take whatever mantra we work with. If we don't have a mantra and we want to think of Ma, we can say Om Ma, which is a great invocation of Ma. And as we breathe in naturally, we mentally intone Om Ma. As we exhale, Om. As we inhale, Om. Om Ma. Let the mantra just fill the breath like the ringing of a bell. Let the vibration fill the breath, breathe the mantra in and out, and simply continue with this. And the mind will try and run away. So you just very patiently, very gently bring it back to the moment, resting in the breath with the mantra. Every time it runs away, gently bring it back and let the mind find that place of rest in the mantra, in the breath. As we continue this technique of listening to the mantra in the breath, and the deeper part of this practice is from that place where we're sitting, add the bhava, add the feeling. Every time you repeat the mantra, call out to Ma from the depths of your soul. Don't let it be dry or technical or anything like this. Just call out each repetition with longing, with love, with gratitude, whatever bhav comes to mind. But add this deep feeling so that the very part we used to love, that is added to our practice. Bhagavatam Anandamayi Ananda Ghanamurte Jnana Bhakti Pradayane Astubhyam Namo Namaha Sri Sri Anandamayi Mata Ki Jai. So it's very good. We meditate a little together. Ma once said to everyone, the fragrance of your spiritual practice goes out to the whole world. So we meditate, even though we're so far apart physically, we meditate together. It's that combined effort is helping and blessing the whole world through Ma's grace. So now for this time we have left, I would like to open the floor and any comments or any questions or any thing people want to share or ask, but let's make sure we keep it very specific to Anandamayi Ma, who we're here to talk about, and her practical application in daily life. But I would like to ask, first of all, Peter of Mount Shasta, if you have anything you'd like to share with us, we'd be very honored to hear your take on things, or anything you want to share.
Well, I'll make it short and sweet. I think I shared this experience with you before, how I met her in India. I actually met her 3 times because I had been at her ashram with a whole bunch of Ramdas people. We were living on a houseboat in Varanasi, and someone got the idea on New Year's Eve, let's go see Anandamayi Mai. And we went there, and she seemed quite bored with the whole thing. And I made a prayer. I wish I would meet her sometime alone on an open country road. And about a month later, I was in Jagannath Puri. I was buying rice in a little shop, and the woman in front of me turned around, and it was her. And I offered to carry her groceries, and she refused. And she talked to me for quite a bit on, she wanted to know what I was doing there. And the funny thing is, she was speaking, I guess, probably in Bengali, right? And I was speaking in English when we both understood each other perfectly. And anyway, the next day I was taking a rickshaw back from the Jagannath temple, and suddenly I felt this joy in my heart. And I stood up, and she was by the side of the road with 3 devotees, and she did, namaskar, which, basically means the God in me honors the God in you. But she wasn't just saying it, she saw the God in me, And I felt that. I felt God in my heart. She transmitted that consciousness to me. So I went back, I almost fell out of the rickshaw, but I went back to the little house where I was living on the beach. And I went up on the roof, which was flat. And for 3 days, I meditated on the heart. I said, I want to see within myself what she is seeing. And that has stayed with me, really. And it wasn't until I met my teacher, Pearl, in Mount Shasta, that she really taught me how to do that myself. But her teaching was the same: meditate on the presence in the heart, see it as a sun, and that goes out to the whole world, And once you have that feeling of divine love in your heart, you feel love for everybody and everything, and you're one with all, And, I keep, it's not like I feel that every moment, but it started really with Ma on that street in Jagannath Puri. She had that ability to transmit that. So I think one of the highest things you can do is to just try to see God in everybody you meet, even the people trying to give you a hard time. So anyway.
Thank you, Peter. That's wonderful.
My pleasure.
That was my specialty. She just awoke the divinity. I remember when we were around her, we were just longing for her to look in our eyes, because something happens. Sometimes she would stop and look at you, and she would look past everything right into your soul of souls. And it would awake you up. That was the first time I've had that first awakening, was when Ma looked in my eyes. It was true, because she saw, we all long to be seen. And Ma saw you in a way that was so satisfying, because she saw your soul that nobody else sees. Everyone else just sees the mask on top of it. So beautiful. Yeah, Ma has a little ashram there in Jagannath Puri on the beach. I've stayed there before. So she was on a visiting there. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And also, I would love it. Blake gave me your number. I would love if we could meet sometime and just talk. I come to Mount Shasta occasionally. I've done kirtan there, but I don't have any plans. Do you ever come to the Bay Area?
I haven't in a long time, but I'd love to connect with you.
Yeah, let's. I'll try to call you sometime, but let's just, whenever we're in each other's territory, let's.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'd love to connect with you.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic to sit and talk and just share stories and things. We're wonderful. And thank you so very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you for doing this. It's a great service.
It's really my pleasure. Yeah. So, anyone else have anything if you just want to talk about or share, or any experience with Ma?
May I just add that I lived in Jagannath Puri for a couple of years, and Ma's ashram is right there at the smashan. It's right at the smashan. So that offered opportunities to be present often with cremation and death, and of course Ma's words beyond death. And secondly, I'd like to say how moved I am that we did moan. We had the silence in our meditation. I remember sitting in Kankal with Ma, and we would all be in silence. Those are some of my deepest memories, actually. It's full. The silence is full. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Shama. It is true. Like one time I was sitting with our Baba, our Swami Kedarnath, who's one of Ma's great disciples. And he looked at us, he said, "What I'll share with you, I'll share in silence." Ramana Maharshi used to say the same thing. And then we all sat and he really did share something. Yeah. So it is true. It's good. We weren't meditating very much previously. Now we've added a little more meditation. I think it's good that we're all here together sharing that. It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. Anything else? Sure, this is the time to talk. Please don't be shy. Anything you want to share, any experience? If you just, anyone want to tell me how they came to Ma, how Ma touched their lives, or any questions on the readings or talks that we had today? Yes, Randy?
Well, first of all, thank you all again. It's so good to be with everybody. What keeps going through my head is I would love to experience a Sanyam Sapta. I wish we could have that in this country or somewhere together, because I know it would help so much to share that. So I'm just putting that out. That's just in my heart. It's been in my heart for a while.
Well, let me reply to that and then come back to you, so you can, if you have more to say. When Swami Bhaskarnandaji, who was Ma's main Swami, he's the one who sent me to Omkareshwar in 2001 to help start the school, who was just a adorable saint. Everyone just loved him so much. He was a perfect master, but also just the gentlest, sweetest, kindest, loving man. He would come to America every year, and he had a Sanyam Sapta, I think in Chicago, and people came from all over the country to it. So we could have one. We could try. You know, there's one every year in India, one in Kankal and one in the Bhimpura ashram. And I was living in Madhya Pradesh in central India, and we go over to the Bhimpura ashram every year in February for it. And it's still going on. It's very good. And a lot of the old devotees of Ma who are still alive are usually there, and they tell stories of last night and everything. But it's Ma really stressed it. We have 2 hours. We have an hour morning and evening group meditation, and then chanting of the Gita, chanting of the Chandipat, talks throughout the day by visiting Mahatmas, very strict food regime. You fast first and last days. You have this Brahma Kachuri once a day. Other than that, it's very rigorous, but Ma always stressed it. But we put it out, and let's think of how we can do that here in America too. We could have a meeting. Now COVID's possibly letting up a little bit. We don't know. But sometime in the future, if we have any more normality, let's think of a gathering we could do in person. That would be nice. And Randy, let me go back to you. So you were saying something else too? Be sure and unmute.
I think that was it. I think. Yeah, just that's in my heart. And I'm going to just pray about it, and I would help. I would certainly help to have that happen.
Yeah, it's not impossible. We can have like a central location. We had a weekend retreat here in California one time, a Ma retreat before COVID. Yeah, let's put it out. Let's put it out and see when we can all meet. It would be a wonderful thing. Right now, I think it's still not safe. You know, it's just too many people are sick. But that's a good thought.
You know, Swami Bhaskarnanda did those Sanyam Saptams in Florida at Sebring with doctors Bhatt, Meena, and Bipin Bhatt. And that's when I first came back to the Sangha. Actually, I'd been away from the Sangha for so long. He did them there 3 years in a row. So the Rasayana Cove is less than an hour from Sebring, and it has space. I think you know Mangalananda. It has space with a lot of nature. I'd be thrilled to share. But Swami Bhaskarnanda came twice to Rasayana Cove.
That's a wonderful idea. It is an ideal place for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
very quiet.
I think Ma and COVID willing, will. Yeah. Let's make a sankalp for that. Let's put that in mind that we will do that. That'd be a perfect place. We could all come there. You know, whoever could come.
Yes, there's water, there's fire. Yeah, the elements are present.
I know it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, wonderful place. Okay, also a few alligators, crocodiles. Okay, good. Well, let's keep this in mind. That again, Ma makes good intentions manifest if we just keep it in mind. So let's do keep it in mind. Very good. Surely someone else has something to say, some observation or a question or something you want to share that uplifting to them and all.
I have a question.
Yes.
During the meditation, you said when we were doing the breathing part, we said like, don't change it, you know, and I hear that a lot in the meditation instructions from like several different of my teachers. But the first thing I do is breathe deeply and slowly when, you know, when asked to look at the breath. So why is it that we try not to change it, and why do I change it?
Well, it's okay to do it. I was at I told you I was just at Shivananda, Bahamas, and they also have an instruction before meditation. And they say, breathe deeply, count this, 5 in and 5 out, and then let the breath become more subtle. You can do that too. You can start by just breathing deeply, just to kind of make yourself feel it. But then the idea is you want to fit the mantra in with the natural rhythm. So, because if you're going, it's an effort. So let it get more and more subtle, and then let the just feel the rhythm, because sometimes it'll be faster, sometimes it'll be slower, and it doesn't matter. You'll find as the more you concentrate, the breath will slow down by itself. But if it's just the natural rhythm, you're fitting the mantra to the rhythm. In other words, you're not stretching out the breath to breathe through. Like, for instance, if you're using something big, a long mantra, like some mantras are like Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You split it up in half or even in thirds. You just however it fits into the breath. And then you find, if you're just breathing normally like that, and the breath is moving in a relaxed way, the mind goes deeper than if you're trying to make it in some kind of rhythm. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes a ton of sense. Thank you.
But at the beginning, it's fine to just breathe deeply and kind of just get your mind on it and feel it, and then let it become more subtle by itself. It's a good
Got
question.
it. Makes sense.
Reed, did you have a question?
Question about your reading. Anandamayi Ma differentiated Jyoti and Shakti, and somehow I wonder if you could clarify.
She used 3 different words. She used Jyoti, Shakti, and Prakash. And Jyoti is just literally light. It's a Sanskrit word, so like usually it does imply divine light. And Shakti is energy, is power, feminine. And it's also, Shakti is the name of the Divine Mother, because Divine Mother is literally the energy and light that the creation is made from. It's the building blocks of below atoms and protons and all that. It's her Shakti, her movement of energy is Divine Mother. So Shakti is the energy, movement, power. And then Prakash is the revelation of light, the revelation of being. So Atma Prakash means the Atma, the light of the Atma shines forth. Bhagavan, we always say, in the Ma Chalisa, we sing this Ma Chalisa. It's a 40 verse praise in hymn of Ma. In one point we say, I can't just jump right in the middle of it. We say, anyway, it's in Hindi. We say the reason we do our sadhana is for the prakash of the God, of the Lord. May our sadhana bring Matri Prakash. May it bring the revelation of Ma to us, because that's who we want to see God in. So Jyoti is light, Shakti is energy, movement, divine feminine power, and Prakash is the revelation of inner spirituality and holiness. Does that make sense?
Very much so. In my mind, they all kind of are. I can't even differentiate them. I can't even really.
They're all connected with each other. They're all different. They're all different manifestations of the Divine Mother. Really, she can be light, she can be power, and she can be revelation. So really, there are 3 of her forms, 3 of her divine revelations. Yeah, her movement.
Wasn't she saying that the aim was Jyoti? That's the most, somehow the central.
The aim would be Prakash. The aim would be Prakash, because that's the revelation of what's inside. But Jyoti comes, Jyoti, light will come. And that's usually, and light, it could be, we think of physical light, but it's like the uncreated light, the light of divinity, light of knowledge. When we suddenly have a revelation of what's true, or even when we have just, we get an insight into something, that's light. That's also light, Jyoti and Prakash. Yeah, so the 3 are interconnected. Yeah.
I guess they're like, in a way, they're kind of like 3 different phases of the same process. At least that's what I'm getting at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 3 forms of the mother. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? surely somebody has something.
Would you talk about the word grace and how it is known in Sanskrit, and how, from Ma's perspective, can you talk about grace? You've used the term grace a number of times tonight. God's grace.
Yeah, that's excuse me one second. This term kripa means grace in Sanskrit. And it's the absolute essential ingredient of life in sadhana. And what it is, it's and Ma said many times, she said, someone asked her, please show your grace on us, show your kripa. And she said, kripa is falling like a waterfall at all times on every person. But we remain unaffected by it because our vessel is turned upside down. She said, if you have a big bowl and you put it under a waterfall upside down, it's still going to be dry on the inside. So she says, sadhana is learning to take your vessel and hold it up to receive the grace. Because the grace is God's movement calling us back home. Grace is the call the Divine Mother has brought us through evolutionary eons as different manifestations, as plants, as minerals, as animals, as people, slowly bringing us back to self-revelation. That's grace. It's always there. It's always calling us. And they say that, like Ma said, it's her grace that we are thinking of her today, that we're here together in this meeting, this satsang. It's her grace that awakens us to want to spark spiritual life. It's her grace that gives us the power to do sadhana. And ultimately, it's her grace that reveals it. It's only through grace. I met the years I lived in India, I traveled, mainly was in Ma's ashram, and I was teaching in the school and doing my sadhana, but I traveled a lot too. And whenever I would go, I try to meet the saints. And I met some wonderful saints. I wrote a book about it, matter of fact. I met this wonderful saint in the jungle outside of Pune in Maharashtra. And he'd been there living since he was a boy with his guru. Now he was old, his guru Samadhi was there, and he had long jata. He was a wonderful saint, and he was just so childlike. I believed every word he said. And I asked him, I said, Swamiji, what is your sadhana? And he said, he smiled, and he says, I have no sadhana these days. I just live in the being of God. And that I believed him. He said it because he'd done the sadhana his whole life. But then he said, he started talking. He said, any effort you make, any yoga you make will take you to a certain point. He was like looking at it. I could tell he was seeing this as he was saying it. He said, and then you see before you just an infinite space of light and divine consciousness. And he said, it's by invitation only. You can only get in by invitation. And he said, but he will call. He's gracious. He will call you in, but it's only by invitation. So everyone agrees. All the great saints have agreed that. Matter of fact, Ma said, sadhana does not produce realization. It shocked people. She said, there's no connection between sadhana and realization. She said, the self is swaprakash, self-revealing. And so what our sadhana does is it turns that bucket around. So we receive the grace, we prepare ourselves, we purify ourselves, we reattune ourselves so that we can receive that grace and not be blown up by it. But then when we're ready, that grace comes, and it's only through that grace that the final step comes. We can't possibly make that final step ourselves. We can't kill the ego. We can't plunge into divinity ourselves. It's literally impossible. We can only prepare ourselves. And then when we're really prepared and we're longing, that grace takes us over, takes us across. So grace is the beginning, the middle, and the end. It's everything. I remember one time I had a funny revelation of that. I was living in India. I was on tour, and I was staying with this Indian family in Los Angeles, and they had 3 beautiful daughters. One of them looked like a movie star, and she drove me to the airport. And she had, no interest in spiritual life, no experience in anything. And so we were driving, and she said, I have a Puerto Rican boyfriend, and I've heard that if you have a spiritual life together, it makes you closer in relationships. So I'm currently, what is this spiritual life thing? And I was just like floored. I don't remember what I told her, but I realized you can hear these words, spiritual life, throughout your life, and you can't even know what it is. You can't even know what we're talking about until you have that touch of grace. So you can't start. You can't even know you want to start. You don't even know there's such a thing. I mean, I don't know what I even told her, because you can't describe it without grace. But then once you're touched with that grace, like all of us here, we wouldn't be here if we weren't touched. Then you can start, then you can see what it is, you can see the path. So it's really, it's grace is everything, you know, and it's this strange thing we kind of, you know, I think I've given the example before. Someone asked Ma, in one of the readings today, Ma was talking about grace and self-effort. She was answering a question. And someone asked Ma, what is grace and what is self-effort? And someone had given Ma a flower and she was kind of holding it, playing with it. And she didn't answer the question. She just reached over and gave the man this flower. And he said, oh, thank you, Ma. And he took the flower. And she said, that's the answer. She said, this flower is grace. I gave it to you and you took it. And so that's the two things. The grace is there, but you have to take it. You have to be prepared to take it. And grace is flowing on everybody. And some people get it and some people don't. Why? Because I mean, it's lifetimes of effort, lifetimes of good deeds. At one point, you come to accept that grace and you start from there. Does that answer your question?
That's wonderful to hear your words about this. Thank you very much.
Okay, smallest words. Well, let's see. We have a little bit of time going to
Sanjay has his hand up.
Sanjay?
Hey, Jayma, Acharji, you know, this question has been asked on the grace and effort. I don't know, I think probably it is Mark grace. You know, when I was sitting over here, I felt like I'm going to ask this question, but then I thought, no, I'm so much confused why I should be asking this question. And then this question was there partially and you answered it, you know, because the question what was having, whether it is Ma's grace, you know, I'm attending, or it is my effort, you know. And if it is my effort, I thought it's not going to work and it's not working also. And if it is Ma's grace, why it is not there on me, you know? And you have answered it, I think, like it is a truly Ma's grace.
What is it? We have to make an effort. And so often we think, oh, I'm not getting anywhere. I mean, that everybody does. Everybody thinks that. But I find the more we surrender to that grace, that I try every time I say my mantra, which is one of Ma's names, I try to do it just with surrender, like I don't put it into, you know, words, but I had the bhav that Ma, I don't know anything. You are you know every single step of sadhana. You know the way. You are the goal. So like I'm just going to say your name, and you're just going to have to pull me along because I don't know anything. You know what I mean? So you're just doing it with a surrender, and that state brings grace too. What stops grace is when we stand up with the ego. We stand up, I'm separate, I can do something, I don't need any help. You know, when we stand up, again, see, there's so many paradoxes in spiritual life. At the same time, we are supposed to have inner strength. We are supposed to have inner resolve. We are supposed to have a strength of will to accomplish the sadhana and accomplish our life. And that has to be there. But at the same time, it has to be with this underlying knowledge of how it is all through God's great divine power that we do anything. So it's this absolute paradox where both things are true, where we need to have strength and power, but we have to know that that's God's power that's moving us, and it's Ma's grace which are doing this. So the more we're in the state of total surrender, we realize, Ma, I'm doing what I can, but it's your part to finish it all off. And we just, our job is just to show up and do what we know to do, and then leave it in Ma's hands, and she'll take us further. Yeah, but so that helps kind of the feeling of frustration, like I'm not getting anywhere, because we all feel that sometimes. We just surrender more and more and more, that everything will be an opportunity for more surrender. And that does get you somewhere. It does take you further along. When are you going to be in India, Sanjay? Weren't you going sometime soon?
I was thinking to be there in February, but probably it will be in the May because of the office work. Maybe in the May month I will be going there.
Okay, well, keep in touch. I'll be in February. You should still try and visit Masharanam. It'll be really hot then. In fact, a lot of times they go up to, we have a little retreat center in Himachal Pradesh, way up in the Himalayas, above Dharamshala, that we go to for Ma's birthday sometimes. So we might be up there. Anyway, keep in touch, and we can put you in touch with them.
But Acharya, you know, I think Randy, she mentioned about this Satyam Sapta. Probably that is a really good idea. You know, I'm there for that.
Yeah. Let's just put that out. I think it's kind of right now. It's just depending on so now we even have a place. Shama's given us a place, and we have the desire. So I think now it's just dependent on COVID and what's safe for people. Of course, if it's mostly outside, like at the Cove, we could be mostly kind of outside. So let's keep thinking about it. It would be a good thing. Yeah, it'd be nice. We can even get Katia to come all the way from Portugal.
I would go, yes. It would be a great joy for me.
Yeah, well, let's keep it up as a desire. We'll see how it goes. Okay, well, I guess if we don't have any, okay, last chance. Anybody want to share anything or say or ask anything? Was it Randy? Did you have a hand?
All right, I have another question. So what can you just speak about when we know we're supposed to be doing something, but every day, we don't. And every night I look at Ma's picture and I look at, and I feel her presence, and I'm like, I just feel like, with some things, obviously I'm falling short. And so what does she have to say about that when you're just, this is a practice, I feel like I've been told it, and I just keep, saying, okay, I'm going to get up and try again tomorrow. And, I'm doing a lot of really good things, but when there's something in me that's just, not doing it.
I know we all have a part of ourselves that doesn't want something. It's the deep entrenchment of the ego of being separate for so long, so many lifetimes, that a part of us doesn't want to go back into unity. It's just, that's part of human nature, this kind of resistance to anything spiritual. But we have to just strengthen that higher part of ourselves that does want that, and we do that just by doing it every day, whether you want to or not. Like Ma said many times, if you ask a child, do you want to be educated? They'll always say, no, I'm going to play. So you have to use some coercion, and you have to either by threats or cajoling or whatever, you get it to sit down and study, and eventually it becomes educated, and then eventually it becomes to love the learning and love study. So you do have to kind of force yourself. But at the same time, Ma also said, how does she put it? She said, exert yourself to the utmost of your ability, and I'm there to take care of what's lacking. So if we just do the best we can, and we're always, we're humans, we always fail so much. And we don't get discouraged. We have to just keep moving on, know that Ma's there. But also, she said, analyze. At the end, like, it's good at the end, analyze in the day, okay, what could I have done better? And then set your will to do better the next day. Like I know with saying your mantra, my last thing Ma said to me, she said, do japa all the time. Still working on that one. Now it was 50 years ago. So there's always more times we can say our mantra. There's more times be like a miser for time. Like if you're standing in line, if you're driving in a car, if you're waiting, rather than grabbing a phone and looking at the phone, you can say your mantra more and more and more. So there's always more time. There's always room for improvement. At the same time, we shouldn't get discouraged, because we're human and we're frail, and we do the best we can. So it's be strict with yourself, at the same time, know that we have room for failing and we can still keep moving. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, I guess there's no use to singing kirtan because it sounds so horrible. I guess next time I'll be back on my other laptop and we'll see the Ma's photos, and hopefully the music will be better. So thank you all very much for coming. I'll be at the yoga farm in Grass Valley for New Year's Eve. If anybody's around Northern California, I'll have a full kirtan band, and we'll do a bunch of kirtan, and we'll do a workshop on, I think on the divine names. It's in Grass Valley, Northern California. It's where anybody's around and interested. We're there for December 31st. There's a retreat going on, things starting now. It's going to stretch for and you can participate any length of time within it. So if you can come to that, it'd be good. If not, we'll see everyone next month, hopefully. And thank you all very much for coming. This is it's a great joy to all be together like this and think of mine, help encourage each other to go forward.
We have a question from Carla in the chat where she says, would you give us a workshop? I'm not sure exactly what she means by that.
Well, yeah, like I say, I'm doing it we could do something online sometime if you want to.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was going to ask about a workshop on the divine names because I would love to experience that. And since we're not there, we can't ever get to do it, but maybe you would offer it online for us.
Okay, yeah, okay, that's another thing we do. Okay, sure, we can do that sometime. Let's I'll think of a time. Okay, let's see who. I'll put something out. We just see if anybody's interested and register. We can do that. Okay, good, good, good. Randy, you raising something?
I was just saying I was interested.
Okay. Well, good to see everybody. Everybody take care and be safe. And know that COVID's not over yet, so don't get too confident. Just wear your mask if you're inside. Well, you want to unmute and say goodbye. I'm happy to see and hear everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Time out.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Jai Ma.
everyone.
Thank you.
Jai Ma,
Thank you.
Manada.
Bye.
Safe
Jai Ma.
holidays.
Jai Ma.
Thank you,
Jai Ma. Thank you.
Jai Ma,
Happy
everybody.
holidays. See you next
Good to see
month.
you.
Happy New Year.
You to everyone.
Yes. Happy New Year
Happy New
also.
Year, everyone.
See you in the new year.
23.
Yes.
Take care. Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.
Jai Ma.